fedoras.
There we go.
I think we're live.
If you're American like me, you know the implications of a fedora. Bunch of nerds and dorks wearing them.
Unless, of course, you watch Blacklist, and then you have an appreciation for Raymond Reddington, because I'm a fucking TV nerd.
Okay, there are rare men who can pull off a
Exactly.
99.9% of men cannot, even the ones who think they can.
You're not wrong.
Okay,
I don't even care.
we are live.
Oh,
We're
crap.
live. We're live.
I don't know if someone
Ladies
can
and-
actually test and see if we can hear everybody.
Who's tasting what now?
Let's see if we can see you, or see if we can see us.
And hear us.
Right, and hear us. That could be entertaining because we won't be in the same thing. Where are we? Something is brewing. Oh yes, there we go.
What in the hell is happening?
Is it actually
We're
working?
live.
What am I listening to?
What?
What on earth?
What just... Oh, the local music.
There we are.
I had the local music off, and it just started
Oh.
at random. Jesus Christ. Okay,
There we go.
I'm good.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Oh,
Okay, is it working though? I can't. We don't have.
it is.
anyone.
You've just said test to see if we're working.
I don't know. YouTube is sending me some error messages, so you know.
YouTube hates you.
I know. I know. And we have nobody watching, so I don't know
To be
One is
fair.
watching.
if we
Oh, that's
have
me.
if we have
I
good
said one.
sound.
One is watching, but it's me.
That could be
What's
me.
the link?
Holy crap! Shut that off.
Okay, let's see.
Denise is talking in subtitles.
Oh, no, it
Yeah,
says.
Denise doesn't use a mic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Audio works.
So we gotta keep watching the local chat, okay? For Denise.
It says there's 6 watching. It would be nice if someone could tell us if the sound is okay.
I did. It works.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
And you can hear all of us?
There's like a 20-second delay. We'll see.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Just as long as that we can all...
Okay, I can't.
Okay.
What is
Yep, we hear everybody.
Damn it.
Oh, I can say something contentious and get another sentence as a flashback.
I don't-
back 20 seconds
What's
later, see
what's
it
the
all
link?
again.
I'm not finding it by searching you this
Oh.
time.
Hold on.
She's just it's just a reality
You
show.
don't want to see yourself, do you, Clara? It's just, you know what you look like, don't you?
I want to see the chat on there. That's
Oh,
part
yes.
of it.
Yes,
Oh.
she does.
Okay, we're on that. So, yeah.
I've got too many windows. I'm sorry. I just can't. Yeah.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. It's all right.
But that's all good.
Yeah.
All right.
So, how are we all? Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Oh, yeah, hi,
everybody.
Ayo.
we are very, very good. Well, I am very, very good.
We have 8 watches already. Look out.
Okay, so I just have to say, let's start by, we were supposed to do a podcast about relationship just because we had a really, really good talk about it a few weeks ago. But Andy wants to talk about shadow meshes as well, so...
Oh, I just want. Oh, you know me. I've got verbal diarrhea. I talk about anything. Well, actually,
Yeah,
I think
I'm
some
just
of the viewers
gonna-
have
I'm
picked
gonna-
up on that. I think some of the viewers have picked up on that already. So.
Oh, Denise definitely sung you praises. I mean,
Yeah.
if by he talks everybody's ear off, it's a praise.
Okay, so we did have 3 things that we were sort of thinking about. Let's just look at that way. Like the last podcast that you had out there, Chris, the one on shadow meshing, that was quite interesting. Particularly bearing in mind we were talking fairly recently on a number of occasions about content and copying and originality and why can't people come up with something new and all those kind of things. And then we start thinking in terms of, well, not only can we buy or get something new, we could buy something new, and then actually we then discover it's not new at all, because we could buy it in one store and we could buy the same thing in another store and another store and another store and another store, and actually they might not even have the same texture on them. which would make it more original. But people are spending serious sums of money on stuff that they've already got.
The issue of not just animation reuse given the pool, but identical cycles or identical sequences for the menu setup or whatever you call it. I've noticed a few of those when out furniture shopping. You'll find something from say I'll say Lalu just as an example, and then from what was that other place? Something hard. Hang on a second. Let me pull up my. Wow, that's a great word to lean on, right?
That's normal for the furniture, though. They all use
right.
Mostly,
but
there's not many custom-made
right.
furniture.
That's what I was getting at. Is we come across plenty of reused animations because there's a limited pool, but there's a lot of furniture itself that, like you said, just with a different texture, is virtually identical on a 1-to-1 scale.
Yeah. Pretty much.
You're going through to outfits. I mean, I'm sitting here wearing a rather distinctively coloured shirt right now. You could probably get, in fact, you can get that shirt in a variety of different colours without the distinctive pattern on it.
Right.
It's probably not a bad thing, really, when you look at it.
Actually, I think I have that exact same shirt plain from another store.
You probably do. So, again, when we talk in terms of shadow meshes, I mean, there's probably meshes which are available out to people on the open market, and they can take these things and they can apply a new texture, and then they can try and sell it on, and maybe someone will go and buy it. And if they could buy the same shirt from 3, 4, 5 different people just with different textures on. And maybe they like the textures that much, so maybe they want to spend that kind of money. Me, if I find a good one with a half decent texture, I'll just buy that and keep it. But that's just me. The interesting thing is that when you get brands and you get content creators that have stores, some of them can be quite large stores and quite well known, and we're not going to mention any names in this.
Right.
But you buy something from a store there, and it then transpires that creator didn't create it. And they are the thing that really struck me about Pris's podcast when she started doing a bit of digging into it was how the people that own the brand or the people that come up with the idea for the store have this potentially a whole army of people behind them which are creating things from them. They pass it off as their own. They pay them a pittance. Their hard work and labour isn't being recognised, and if they do want to raise any complaints or anything like that, they can find themselves instantly banned and the whole thing shut off, and yet the whole things can carry on being sold straight away, and it's people are passing things off as their own when they're not. We're not just talking in terms of brands and logos. There's all sorts of content. My God, go back a couple of months where we talked about Hybrid and all that stuff. Content that isn't supposed to be there, or content which isn't legally there. We've got a whole load of the IP theft and those kind of rules sitting within Second Life and within the standards and community standards and that. Yet there are so many more people out there which have this whole shadow economy. The shadow. I don't like to say this, but I get the image in my mind of those sweatshops they have in Asia, where you have a whole army of people creating stuff out there, and it's the big corporation or the big guy at the top somewhere else that's taking the credit for the whole thing.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of how just about every market's going to operate, and it's even easier here in Second Life because say you get in contact with a creator and you work out a private deal with them. Well, then they're working on that stuff and giving you the product outside of Second Life. How are you supposed to track who's supposed to have proper ownership of that created item? Like you said, the IP theft on that is it's beyond scale. It really is.
Yeah. And they try and protect themselves, and they have NDAs, and they have all sorts of other contractual terms whacked on them, and potential lawsuits threatened to them as well.
Those NDAs, I've seen one of them. There's the legality behind it is,
Yeah, a lot of NDAs out there are not actually.
The
They're flimsy at best.
It's not actually real. Like you can sign a paper. The one that I've seen, it is not legally binding. Like you can.
Yeah.
So, there's there's another blurry lines with that, which is a topic I want to bring one day. But yeah it's, I don't know.
Rhythm
In
C saying
Second
that
Life,
doesn't hear the voice.
yeah, they're just allowed to do anything really because there's no policing.
Yep.
And because, you
How
know,
do
we're
we-
here for the fun, so let's break laws and be okay with it. Really.
Yeah. How do we all feel about this? Because there is a huge shopping economy going around Second Life. I mean, it's
I mean,
striking
as-
to see that the whole basis of people talk as we are now, and interacting and being creative and trying new things and everything else, all that seems to have almost gone to the wires, and there just seems to be a massive economy of people that just stand around in a social location, like a club or something like that, glaring at each other, looking at their profiles, and then all they really want to do is go and buy something. And all they're doing is comparing notes on what they bought. That is it.
I feel so disgustingly targeted by that, and I do less shopping than Denise. Okay.
I know. We all like shopping. We all like
Yeah,
buying
we all
stuff.
like
There's a quick
shopping,
version
yeah.
dopamine you get from that.
But I get what you're saying. It's become less of a socializing thing and more of just an endless market.
Yeah. And it's just this whole. Everyone's just trying to play top trumps on who's got the latest thing, and it's got to the point now where you've got this shadow economy with shadow meshes and everything else going on out there, creating stuff, and people are buying the same thing just with different meshes every time, and different textures every time, and you're starting to think, well, hang on a minute, so where's this all going? We're all just end up with the same thing, you know, seeing who's got the best texture on it, and no one will talk. And the whole idea of Second Life about being a Second Life and a community and all of that has gone.
I mean, when I was first, I'll say playing this game, it's more of a sim than a game, but when I was first here, more than a decade ago, honestly, it was very much centered around its namesake. It very much was just a second place to live your life. I had friends and family who were, we'll say, for lack of a better word, disabled or less physically able, who were able to live their lives to the fullest. But like you said, now what we're seeing is, aside from some of these more social events like the nightclubs and stuff, people are basically just looking to buy the next hot thing. Ooh, this looks shiny,
No.
this looks crisp, this looks sharp, you know. This is new, I haven't seen this from this creator, so on and so forth, and you get to that discovery that so many different tops, such as the one Pris is wearing and one that I've seen from one of the other shops Denise and I have been to, they look virtually identical, but just with a slap of somewhat different texture, you know.
Yeah.
And you asked specifically about how we feel about that, and like Denise said, it's more of a different play style, the shopping or the socializing, so on and so forth. But the issue with the shadow meshing, so to speak, is outsourcing product development isn't really new. The issue we come across is when people try to pretend that that product is theirs. It's
Yeah.
not something that they've outsourced or that they are using, collaborating with, and so on and so forth. It's just, I've got this person by the balls, so to speak, and they can't say that they own this because it originated from my computer when I uploaded the content. So
Yeah.
short of a very expensive cybersecurity detail, you're going to have an issue tracking where that file came from, who it actually belongs to, so on and so forth. So the issue effectively just lingers on the honor system, which, as far as the internet is concerned, is pretty much a dying art.
Yep.
Don't you feel it's the whole culture of Second Life, this whole shopping, retail, sell
Yes.
culture now?
It's definitely become that, yes.
It's promoting that kind of thing now, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
and making
Yeah.
people more likely to do that.
Yeah, but why are they shopping? Like, I mean, I'm shopping because I'm doing videos and I like to wear different outfits so I can actually show off the outfit. But I mean, if you're just
Well-
standing there or standing in your home with all these outfits, I mean, mind you, there's not the bloggers. I don't want to call them bloggers. The people that take pictures.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the reason they would buy.
I can't speak for myself, as I only have like maybe 6 or 7 different outfits that have arisen due
What?
to the need of.
7?
Yeah,
Get
maybe
out.
7. Yeah, let's see. Hang on, let's
Yeah,
see.
Andy might have about
1,
the
2,
same,
3,
yeah.
4, 5,
It's
6.
harder for guys.
I have 6. Yeah,
Yeah, but
well, for starters, yes, it's harder for us to
7.
find quality stuff, and for me, it's strictly a matter of necessity. Whereas Denise, within her first week, had probably 20 different outfits. Now, I'm partly to blame for that, largely to blame for that, but her thing, and I'm only speaking on her behalf in so far as I've known her for years, is she enjoys the customizing, the tinkering, the mix and matching, the seeing what works with what. She's like that with mods and other games. She likes to mess with textures, and her thing is tinkering. So this environment of shop endlessly and find the things that you can mix and match, it's practically crack.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very much a thing for a lot of people, because say you don't necessarily have a lot you can do in your real life, right? Clothes are markedly more expensive for starters. If I were to try to spend $5 on a jacket at Walmart, I'd get a scrap of cloth from underneath one of the clothing shelves, as opposed to in here you spend $5 and you can get something that looks absolutely amazing. So the exacerbation of that need to shop hinges on people being able to have what they can't have in their real life. So like you said, it creates that predatory environment of taking advantage of people who maybe want to create but don't really know how to market. So they trust someone who can market but happens to be a shady, crooked prick.
Well, everybody likes to have something for nothing, don't they? That's the thing.
Or as little as possible, yeah.
Yeah, I'll pay for something if it's reasonable,
That's honestly part of the reason I don't have...
If we want to go down that avenue, though, when things are not reasonable, that's just... I mean, it's not good to just, rip people off.
I don't buy from stores that I find to have unreasonable pricing, and it may not be unreasonable to some people. That's the problem, is with...
It's not a problem. I mean, everybody has a different budget, though.
No, what I mean by problem is that the predatory pricing will always exist so long as people are willing to abide by it. So as long as they're willing to indulge it. That's the problem. Whether or not you find it valuable or not, if, say for example, there's an outfit for $600 lindens at one store, and a similar but maybe slightly better reflective quality from another store, and it's $2,500. But people like that vendor, so they're more loyal to that vendor, and they spend 3-4 times the price just because. That's what encourages the issue, and even will promote the idea of shadow meshing, because you can get a creator who may not do all the work. They're not putting that much effort into it, so if they overcharge, whoop-de-doo, it's not their problem. And you're not going to get people saying, well, you're charging too much, you need to bring your prices down, when that creator can just say, or that vendor can just say, well, look at what I'm making. Why would I bring my price down? Because consumerism, at the end of the day, is what fuels all of that. And unfortunately, loyalty or disregard for frugal behavior is what's going to spend that. And I can't fault people for saying, I'm willing to spend more on this, I'm willing to spend less on this, so on and so forth, but it doesn't help moderate the system. And you can't use legal framework as far as Second Life's company in general getting involved in saying, no, you can't overprice things, because it is a free market. So you're left with dealing with however the economy itself wants to play out, and that relies entirely on people like you and me.
That's why there is overuse and overpower, because there is no policies, so they can do whatever they want, and everybody is overcharging, and those are shopping events, and it just gets out of hand because there's no one to tell them, hey, that's not okay. So if there's no one to say that's not okay, the situation is getting worse and worse.
Yeah. The issue is, as soon as you introduce some form of, no, you can't charge that much, inevitably it's going to get worse and worse. And inevitably you're going to have people say, well, yes, I can, and I'll just give you special deals so that I can. Because the corporatist environment when it comes to an open market is probably, I would say, the biggest issue. Say, not to speak ill of any of the Linden Labs admin or anything, but say one of them decided they were really good friends with Company A, right? But the rest of the Lindens wanted to make sure that Company A wasn't charging quite as much. So they put a cap on what you can charge for what kind of product. Say, for example, PBR products, right? If it doesn't have PBR, you can't charge over a certain amount of Lindens because the texture quality can't be as good, quote unquote. Well, that Linden may try to find a loophole so that company can continue to do so because that company gives them deals. And that's something that's really difficult to skirt around, and it's a very dangerous slope because you'll end up with all manner of, for lack of a better word, shady interaction. And that's correct. It shouldn't be up to the LINs to regulate the market. It's up to the consumers. The problem is that, as true in the real world or in Second Life or in World of Warcraft or in whatever other game, the consumers are always there's always gonna be a band of consumers who are willing to spend however much just because. They just don't care, or if it's not an issue, or they're loyal, or whatever it is. So getting the companies to say, instead of adhering to, or instead of appealing to the minority 2% who buy from us no matter what, if we were to drop our price down from $2,500 to $1,400, we're reaching 80% more people, even though we're making a little more than half. Now, it's not a guarantee, and obviously it's a risky thing. I don't dabble a whole lot in markets, but right, it should be up to the business, exactly. So, but that's the issue, is companies nowadays, regardless of the venue, they don't think about reaching as many as they can and making less per, typically. It's about making as much as they can from where they can.
Well, I think a lot of these creators and company owners and even things like club owners and landlords and stuff in Second Life, they have a crooked view of how, like, you should run, quote unquote, should run a business. Like a lot of, not all, sorry, I don't mean all, I mean a lot of them.
Sorry,
and there would be no telling them, like, this is not fair, this is not ethical.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because some of them have never even owned a business in real life, so they have no idea how to run a business, because Second Life is kind of a fluke. Like, you know, it's...
Second Life taking off the way it did should never have happened. I will agree with that. Like, the way it just soared into the frickin' heavens when it first came out was a miracle. My family went through and they built their own business on this years ago, and I never would have imagined that something as rough on graphics as it was back then would be so incredibly popular, just because people could do literally anything they wanted.
Yeah.
But with that freedom,
really
it kind of...
anything.
Yeah, it just... The issue with that is, like you said, when you've got unbridled freedom, you've got unbridled opportunity and unbridled greed. So, like Denise says, the problem isn't necessarily shadow meshing, it's the people who are taking advantage of it for effectively nefarious intent.
There's also a lot of, like, full perm stuff, clothes, building items, like, all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of, like, full perm, like, base shapes that you can, it's totally fine and free and legal. You can, well, not free, sometimes, but you know what I mean. And you can use it to make something else, and as long as it kind of becomes, like, a unique thing, then you can sell it as your own. And it came from this full perm thing that, like, 10 other people got.
Now, see, I don't necessarily disagree with that, because the idea of creativity is to expand upon it. So, say that Hawaiian shirt that Andy's wearing, someone found a different style of floral, but it was one of those full perm outfits that a vendor was openly selling. There wouldn't really be any conflict of interest with having that shirt show up somewhere else.
Well, the issue that I have though with is one time I got that was at the time of Gacha. I got a rare, which I thought, ooh, cool, and then that exact same rare, which I paid, quite a fair bit of money to get.
Yep.
Then at a weekend sales, I saw it there, another brand, the exact same thing, which I bought for, because on the rare I only got one color. I bought the exact same outfit, 60 linden, a fat pack on sale. Different brand. It was the same texture. It was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So, you want to be original, you want to use template, fine, but in Gacha as a rare, that's not okay, because it's not original. Somebody else will sell it.
That's the joy of marketing, though, Chris. If you tell someone that it's exclusive, if you tell someone it's only going to be around for a certain amount of time, you're going to make the buyer more interested in it and potentially want to buy it. So they're going to tell people that stuff that looks really cool.
Yeah, but it shouldn't
the
be
stuff
allowed
that really works.
in Gacha, though.
Well,
So,
that's just
the thing is-
that's anything. That's any store will do that.
yeah, the problem is whether or not it's allowed. I'm going to be a little candid here. You're the one who bought the gacha.
Yeah, because I thought it was a rare. Because to me, if you tell me it's a
I-
gacha, I would say, okay, this is something unique. A gacha,
I
that's
totally
what
understand.
it's supposed to be. That's the whole culture around gacha.
But
It is
the-
unique. That's why it's a rare. Now, if you're going to pretend that the gacha is a rare, but in fact is a template that anybody else can sell for 60 lindens, that should not be
Technically, the
allowed.
finished product. Technically, the finished product, not the template, is the unique item.
Now, her concern is it was identical
It was
when she found it somewhere else.
identical. Brand,
Right.
yeah,
So-
identical. I paid a
that's
gacha
not
for
good.
one color.
Right.
The gold, I think, was the rare.
The trouble is, as soon as you introduce any kind of legislation or restriction or limitation to what people can and can't do, it's just going to snowball further downhill. What it comes down to in a digital environment is what's the word I'm looking for here? It's, I suppose the best word for it would be the forethought that someone else had the same idea. For me personally, I've played a couple of gacha games on my mobile. I will never play any form of gacha in here because the concept of duplication is so easy to obtain. There are plenty of systems out there that use the same free market mesh models. So coming across something as far as a shirt or a pair of shoes that, like the ones Clara wearing, you're going to find shoes like that that are almost identical in every possible way from another store at some point. So gambling to try and get something, for me, it's...
Well, yeah, especially when you're talking about things like clothes and maybe decor and stuff that is like trendy.
Right.
Maybe even even the decor are actually, a lot of them are templates used in gacha, and I thought, wow.
In other words, Chris, trusting.
Well, yeah, I don't trust
That's
anyone.
that's the word to go for. It's good, lesson learned, and you didn't spend a whole shitload of real money.
Yep. Yeah.
Because a 3,000 linden place, say the house behind you, 3,000 lindens, right? And someone else made the exact same thing for 2,900 or 2,500, right? You're not out 3,000 real dollars for that house. So there is a not insignificant, but viable difference in the
Yeah, but
monetary value spent to obtain
worst
things.
part,
And I understand.
Yeah, but the gacha, the worst part is that you get one item that is no
Yes.
copy. So you gambling money for something that is no copy, that you can delete or lose by accident, when you
Right.
can buy the exact same one, 60 linden on the
So
website.
I've looked at a few of the gachas, and because of that limitation, despite some of the things I really liked, like from Racieli for Denise, I passed up on that because that's not something that, well, for starters, it's predatory as hell. It's just feeding on people's gambling addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But the issue is we cannot try to get any form of enforcement to ban that, because as soon as you do, then they might clap back with, well, this company is doing this kind of thing that's very similar, so you should be banning what they do. Even though it might not be anywhere near the same. More items, different perms, a different system altogether, like you don't get repeat items, so on and so forth. So running across a system where you say, you can't do this one thing, but there are going to be 100 other things that are very similar to it, is just going to snowball to hell and back. At a certain point, trying to control the market is just going to destroy it. And that's part of the reason Second Life had a really bad slump a long time ago, was because they stopped, or they outright banned gambling. But that's what people love to do. So now you have the gachas, which are the exact same thing, except you don't have casinos. And casinos were lucrative money. I mean, so very popular.
Yeah,
But when they
Gacha,
banned those-
they make a lot of money too.
Right, and it's the problem is it's a loophole because you're not just gambling for money, you're gambling for an item. So they allow it because the only thing that the U.S. government did for that was to ban gambling for cash. So the gacha systems that have come up for not just in Second Life but in a lot of other games is just as predatory on that gambling addiction, but it's a loophole for the financial side of things because people are still get that dopamine hit. I got this rare outfit that I really wanted, or I got this rare character, or I got this rare game even because there are gachas for getting games out there. So it's a situation where interfering with the market basically just tempts further interference because people are going to be spiteful, they're going to be petty. Why did you come after me? I didn't. I came after everybody doing this, but you feel like you were singled out, so you get pissed off. It's just a very slippery slope. And as much as it frustrates me to see those gachas get people like you, it's not something that's safe to try and restrict.
Speaking of someone that's from a different country, along with Chris, in the UK we have a thing, or we did have a thing called the Sale of Goods Act, and it then got transferred into the Consumer Act. Basically, without going into the actual wording from the thing, but it's pretty much prolific, and everybody, certainly in this country, these countries generally knows about it. Goods have to be fit for purpose, sold as seen. In other words, you don't buy something and end up with something else. You don't try and buy a car and end up with a house.
Right.
And it has to be a virtual quantity. It has to do what it's supposed to do. So if you're buying a gacha and you think you're buying a shirt and you end up with a belt, that's illegal. That's not sold as seen. That's not fit for purpose. That's not what you paid for.
That's not what gacha is.
Excuse me. Under the law of the country here, and this applies to all internet sales too, you are entitled to either a full exchange or full refund.
Right.
Until you get the thing that you are entitled to. So I'm right with the Lindsay and everybody else when they drew the line on the gachas and say no, we can't have that. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's very unscrupulous and it's illegal.
But that's not what gacha is.
What?
Unfortunately, it's not because the way gacha works, at least as far as I can't speak for every vendor, but the ones that I've seen, they have a clear list of everything that is in there. So they're able to get around that by saying, well, you're not guaranteed to get any of these items, but we're also not putting you're not getting a vest icon on this.
So you
like you spin the wheel, you get a vest icon.
Until you see the thing that you want come up. And then before you know it,
Right.
you spend so much just to get to that thing.
I agree with that, Denise. Force the probability. If you're going to allow gachas, that's the line. That's the line, right? You can't say they can't do it, but you can restrict how they do it. So, say for example, you've got 4 shirts, 3 belts, 2 pants, and a really badass whole outfit, right? But the outfit only has a 1% chance of landing. They don't have to disclose those probabilities in almost any circumstance. So all they have to show.
Keep clicking buy until what you want comes up.
That's exactly right. And that's the loophole. Is they're able to say, well, we're not saying they can't get this, or we're not saying that if you land on a shirt, you're going to get these pants. We're just showing you what you can get. So it's not blind gambling.
After they banned the old style of gacha, the newer ones you can see what you're about to get.
Right.
Like little machines, they tell you. But now that old
that's the
gacha is
loophole again.
back,
Yeah.
now that old gacha is back, they don't have to show you which one is coming up next.
Right. All they have to show you is what's in the pool, what all you can possibly get. And that's the predatory aspect of it, like I was saying before. If they don't disclose their rates and your odds of getting something, that's something you could get them for by saying, for example, the dress I want is on here 4 times, but I've done it 50 times and haven't gotten the dress. There's only 12 options. They can then raise concern there, but they'd have to go through an external company to then go through Linden Labs to then confront the issue, and it's a lot of money that most people just can't afford to throw out, which is why I had such an issue with the gacha and gambling system in here, because it's not like you can make any form of comeback from it.
And that's why many people waste money and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it so much when they had the newer version where they had to show you what was coming up next. Then you could make the decision, everything is 85 linden, but this is a few down, and do I want to spend 500 linden for this item because that's what I'm about to do? But if you're just blind to whatever's next, like that is predatory.
Right. The disclosing of your odds definitely needs to be a thing that I think they could safely address without that being able to snowball too terribly far and still be able to catch people on lying.
I've got to be honest with you. When I see the word Gacha, if I see someone doing that kind of thing, I just think it's a scam. I won't go near it. I won't go near it.
It is a scam.
The old version of Gacha that has now come back is a scam. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just a shame that, in fact, they have put some really nice things on there for people to buy.
That was a fantastic investment for Denise, and like I said, they put some of their best work behind those gachas, and it's like, well, screw you.
Yeah. Gachas are usually nicer than the rest that's on offer from the same company, but.
Oh, some of them are were fantastic. I haven't seen any, but back in the days we had some really, really cool gacha and pretty original. Like I've never seen anything being sold, as a template. Basically, I think they were original. I think originally they were mostly original, but now because we allow so much crap. It's not
it's
original.
duplicates on top of duplicates.
That's where I have a problem with that, because I'm not going to gamble for a template if I can buy it for 60 linden, from somebody else, same thing, and get.
That's another issue entirely.
The exact same thing. You're not getting anything special or different.
The issue is, was that on sale, or was that just the base price of the item?
See, here's another thing. If I own a brand, and I'm one of these guys that have got a number of shadow mesh creators working behind me. If I've got a nice thriving business and I've got a thriving chat with a bunch of customer service reps sitting on there, keeping the chat going and really giving everybody high fives and really inspiring people to participate in part because I've got the latest and greatest thing coming, etc. If I'm sitting down there and I want to do a promotion for like 50 Linden Fridays or here's a freebie I'm going to give away to you as a gift.
Right.
Where does that leave the shadow mesh creator that thinks he's going to be getting a percentage cut of everything that's been sold?
Shadow mesh creators don't get percentages, do they? It just gets kind of. Shadow mesh creators. Basically, a bunch of creators grab a mesh that, they don't have to pay for or anything.
So, I'm not
the original.
I'm not versed in how it's handled here, but I do know that in my field of work, there's such a thing called piecework, where you create a product, but you're only paid for each product that you make. Regardless of whether or not that product resells, you don't get more. The difference between what I do and what these creators do is it's not a one-off item. It's replicated infinitely. So, like you said, where does that leave the creator behind the shadow meshers in regards to their take, because you can't really program the system.
The creator of the item might not be getting anything at all, or even told about it.
Right, because you can't script the vendor to pay you this amount and then pay them this amount. At least not as far as I'm aware. Split payments aren't a thing as far as I know, because you come across the legal issues of effectively money laundering. So the issue you have there is the verbal, or if you're really lucky, a physical, legally binding document saying that every payment I have to get X amount. How you work that out, I don't really know, because it goes through so many different channels. I mean, you go through the bank, then you go through currency exchange, then you go through the service for the company, then you go through once more going through another currency exchange. There's so many loopholes that I feel like the creators are just kind of SOL. I genuinely don't know how you would approach doing that without having the creator's name tagged to the vendor, but then the vendor themselves don't get anything. So like you said, it's kind of a lose-lose situation there.
It really is. These poor guys, they're the guys that's the real engine behind the brand. They're creating the stuff. they're creating these meshes, they're texturing, they're putting the whole engine behind this. These other guys are basically providing a portal by which they can distribute them, and they're taking the money. Now, they're the guys that are having this whole thing. They're strangling the creators by putting them under non-disclosure agreements and everything else to say that it's been handled by the master store, the name of the store, the brand. If they don't get enough money out of it, what can they do? They can't say, "Hey, that's mine. You're ripping me off." They're completely stuffed. The only place they can do is potentially leave that store and go somewhere else. And I have no doubt that some store owner will try and blacklist them or whatever to try and make sure that they don't start selling the same items or similar content items for other stores.
Right.
It's no big secret that there are stores out there that have changed their entire, what's the word for this? Their entire style, their entire fashion.
Yeah.
Because they've probably, and I'm not
new creators, right?
They've got new creators out there that might be having a better deal or something like that. So, hey, we've got these things. Actually, we can do some. We've got a few lines on these things. We can do these things, and they dump the previous people who are then stuck with it. Yeah.
The only solution I could really figure for creators like that, the people who really enjoy doing the creating, is to use the open market. If you can't afford to create a store, then sell your meshes, sell your textures, sell your builds on those, what are they called? I don't remember the word, but it's basically just a free market for 3D product. That's really the only thing I could suggest they do, and that's much easier to do than trying to create something in Second Life. But if they want a presence in Second Life, they're kind of stuck.
Shove it on the marketplace.
No, it's not the marketplace. It's a different thing entirely. The marketplace is just a second avenue for Second Life. What I'm talking about is for like people who develop 3D sculptures for Dungeons and Dragons, or they develop. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where they can put their work on a market, open source. I think it's open. No, not open source. What the hell is it called? I'll have to figure it out later. But it's basically a market of 3D designed products that are incomplete or maybe complete that are sold worldwide. SourceForge is a good example. But basically, you see it a lot in a lot of modern day games. You'll see these games that are basically rip-offs of other games, right? Because they use the same character models, the same textures, the same outfits. Those are things that a lot of times are actually available on this kind of, it's like an Unreal Engine 5 market, where people create stuff in the engine and then they can put it up for sale there, or they can even put it up for free. That doesn't really exist in Second Life, because you have to have a store, you have to have a sim, potentially, depending on what you're selling. So it's not something that's super conducive to people who may not have money to spend to create the product, or to market the product. So you get the people who can spend, saying, well, I tell you what, you make it for me, and I'll sell it. And then I'll give you a portion of it, because I'm the one that's getting exposed. But then they don't, and like you said, there's not really any recourse. That's the thing. So, again, it's more the things I heard Chris saying in her podcast about Shadow. this on the marketplace and it looks great, but now that I'm here, I don't know. So you know, you really run into that issue of not having the aesthetic outside of the product forces people to again do the outsourcing themselves to find someone who can create the aesthetic for the product, which is where those event planners or etc. come into play.
Yeah, it's a thing for it's something. This is a topic of conversation. Because I do most of my shopping on the marketplace. Because if you haven't got time or able to get into events, I have no idea what events are actually called. Not being funny. Someone talked to me about Uber the other day. Talking about taxis. I had no idea there was actually an event. Yeah.
Denise, that fills me in. I know nothing.
And the only reason I really knew, funny enough, is because I've got a Flickr page, and suddenly the taxi started following me, and I was suddenly thinking, oh, hang on a minute. And then I suddenly realised, oh, hang on, this is a shopping thing. And I had a look at it, and it's full of women's clothes, and I thought, well, what the hell do I want to follow that for?
Right.
But that's another conversation for a joke over another day. But you know, when you look at it, and you just think, well, you've got all these things that are being sold out there, different portals and stuff. There are people out there that can't necessarily get the aesthetic right when they start to market these things, and they start to use AI. So they have the whole thing on there, they'll put it on an avatar, and then they'll put an AI engine on the whole thing and say, okay, make this thing look a bit better.
Oh dear God, don't get me started on the AI previews.
Yeah. And
no.
So, yeah.
No, don't do it.
All right, well, I won't do it. But I'm just simply saying, if you, but I think you know where I'm coming from on this.
Yes, I know exactly where you're coming from.
Where you look as if you think you know what you're going to get. It's almost like the Gachas. You think you know what you're going to get because you've got something that looks remarkably like Kim Kardashian or Taylor Swift or something wearing this thing, and it actually looks rather good. When you actually get it, it turns out to be, let's just say, awful. You know, and it's because you're putting it through an AI engine, and the computer's making decisions about what makes it look good and what doesn't make it look good, rather than what the product actually is. So I'm very, very wary of people that use that kind of screenshot in their marketing.
Yeah. Like, it's... so we can get things sorted.
We've lost voice. Just.
What did you do, Pris? What button did you press?
I don't know.
What did you do?
We've lost voice. I have no idea. So just bear with me.
Unacceptable.
Input. Headphones. Hello. Oh my gosh, it's not working anymore. Hello. Is it working?
Okay, it sounds like it's working now. We were about 20 seconds behind and it was dead silent, but I think it's good.
Okay,
Amazing.
So voice is back. Oh my
So
gosh.
what program are you using, Pris?
For what? Which part? OBS?
For your stream? You're using
Yeah,
OBS?
OBS.
Okay.
Yeah. Always have issues when we do.
I did not realize my mic was that friggin'
live
loud for
stream.
you guys. Holy hell.
I don't know.
Oh, there we go.
Is that better now that I've kicked the mic away a little bit? It's not quite so ear violating?
I didn't have any issues. It's just the audience is saying they're hearing echoes. So apparently we're echoing.
So what your capture device is probably doing is it's capturing the program
Yeah,
audio
I'm
and
losing
the stream
you.
audio.
You're
Yeah.
breaking up.
I'm breaking up? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll push it back in then so it's closer to the face. That's a little weird. I'm trying not to blow people's ears out. I hear myself on the stream and I'm like, good God.
Here's an interesting conversation. We're talking about, people buying stuff, and it turns out not to be what you think it is, and then it turns out to be not by the people you thought it was from either.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is a great product. Wait, no, it's not. And who the hell made this?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't make that either. Oh, what the hell? Oh, can I have it for free then? You know.
Right? Not only is this not what I wanted, but you have a no refund policy despite having a fake picture up, and you didn't make it.
Yeah. Why are people spending real money on this stuff? I have no idea. But
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. More for them. If you did that in the store, if you did that on the main high street, well,
Oh, yeah.
streets in the
Hello?
States.
There I
If you went out into the real, let's just say you went into the real world and you bought something in the real world, you'd expect to have this kind of thing come back to you. You just don't get it in
Well, it's like
at all.
It's like, say you go to a clothing store and all they have are picture previews of the outfit. So you buy the outfit and they bring it out to you and it looks like a Temu purchase. No,
Wow.
I'm definitely not walking away with that. You're going to give me back my money.
Okay.
But that doesn't work
And
here.
it's gone.
No, it's
And
back.
gone.
We're...
Pris, what are you doing?
No, but it's gone again.
God, this is
I'm
like looking
not
at-
even touching anything.
We've got some
It's
pundits
gone
out.
again.
I'm
We
not
got some
So
touching
pundits out
there is
there.
about there is about a 20-25 second delay. So I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if people are just
Uh-oh.
hearing us get quiet for a second.
Uh-oh.
Ah, she's mad.
We've got some pundits out there that would be really good at commentating in sports, I swear, because it's just looking at the chat is absolutely incredible. Yeah, so we've got
I'm not touching
Chris, are you
anything,
minimizing?
I swear. I'm not
Are you
touching.
minimizing anything?
No, I'm not
Oh
I'm not touching anything,
Okay.
okay? Besides my phone there.
Okay.
I was gonna...
Okay, question. Are you tabbing out of SL at all?
Am I what?
Are you tabbing out? Are you opening a different window?
No,
Are you getting are you focusing on YouTube to talk to people on YouTube? Because I think what might be happening is when you're losing program focus, it's muting the audio when you're not actually in Second Life and you're tabbed out to something else.
No, I'm in Second Life. I'm not typing out of Second Life at all.
Okay.
Oh, now they're saying echo fixed. Okay, go
You
on.
haven't done anything. That's
I
so
haven't
unusual.
touched yet.
Now, keep in
I'm
mind-
not touching anything. Don't touch anything. I'm not touching anything. I'm not touching.
Andy
I
should
swear.
probably get out
as-
of my,
As for the
Or
10 or
like-
15 minutes that were missed, we were
Oh.
You were
basically
just
just
mansplaining. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
I'm
Let's
kidding.
go with that. Let's go with that. Yeah.
What were they doing?
We wouldn't mansplain if we didn't need to mansplain. Just saying.
Mansplaining is a fake word anyways. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna call it. It's a fake word.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
People can be annoying regardless of their gender. Right, Vincent?
Exactly.
yeah. So
I make it a
you know,
habit. Just saying.
You can tell from the anguish in Pris's voice, she hasn't got a clue what she's talking about. So
Wow! Wow! Look
No,
at
Denise, you're not
Mr.
annoying.
Weak over there with his little tea. Do you have any teas tonight, Andy? What happened to your
Any
tea?
teasing?
Yeah, tea.
Who's teasing
His
tonight?
tea, his little tea.
No, his
Tea
tea.
with little milk.
Oh,
for,
tea.
for those,
Listen,
for those
I'm
of us-
drinking tea, so you leave him out of
Oh,
this.
shut
So,
up!
okay, come on, guys. So, for those of us that actually speak English, do you mind translating that into something we can understand?
Oh, wow! Wow! Yes,
Denise,
tea
coffee for the
peasants!
win.
Yes, tea peasants! Yes! Yes!
Here's the thing. Andy and I happen to like something sweet. You three like something bitter.
I
Something
think
hot?
you're probably drinking something different from Andy. Andy likes one type of tea. He likes the proper English tea. What the hell are
Oh,
you
he likes
drinking?
dirt water, which is basically coffee, but not as good.
He's
Are you drinking Brisk? or Arizona? That's
I'm
I
saying
like those
nothing.
two. but
Fight!
that's
Fight!
not what
Fight!
Andy-
Oh, right,
Fight!
tea and
Fight!
milk.
Fight! Bring the
I'm
fight!
saying nothing. I'm saying nothing to this because
I
you
have
guys
res rights
haven't
and
got
everything here. I can throw stuff at you.
the only person out of the five of us sitting here actually that knows what I'm talking about when I talk about tea is Clara, because I've actually been to Texas and made her a cup. And in fact,
Yeah.
I've trained her how to make it. Yeah, she still doesn't make it properly, but anyway.
Oh, training. All right then.
Yeah. So yes,
He trains me with the writing crap. I love it.
Aww, aww, aww,
yeah.
little
No,
Andy.
With the right tea, I can't argue that tea and milk is a decent combination, but it's
Oh
basically a
my
heavy enough tea that
God.
might as well be coffee. It might as well be coffee. It's that freaking heavy.
Here's the
No,
thing,
it's-
though. For Andy, though, there is only one tea. It is the tea. You
No,
drink any
I
other
am
tea,
not changing
it's
windows or
blasphemous.
screens at all. Not touching
So when you
anything. I'm repeating myself. I am not touching anything. I
Yeah,
am
she's
not-
watching Netflix exactly.
So when I go
Hurrah!
down,
No, I am no.
Turn
Oh,
off
hell,
Bridgerton.
absolutely not. Absolutely, I've never even
Oh,
watched
no.
that show. No, I'm not going. I swear, I'm not touching any windows. I'm not going on Facebook or anything. I've got. There is no, just no.
You're just gonna have to sit here and listen to us and be bored, okay?
Okay, I'm muting
Sorry,
myself
we're
because
boring
I'm. We boring.
See, Denise, we're same wavelength. There you go.
Ah.
I'd say plead the fifth, but you're in Australia and you're French, so I don't think that works.
Not
They don't
touching
have
the
that.
floor.
Probably has something similar, maybe. Maybe.
Don't think they do.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, that's
I'm
not
done.
a
You
subject to get into.
Silent.
I'm-
You don't have the right to an attorney.
I'm standing up on my stool on one foot.
Oh, we're gonna hear a bang. She's gonna slip
Yeah,
and
we
roll.
Does
Listen,
that work?
it's not like we heard her run into the door several times a couple weeks ago,
Ah,
or at least that's
okay,
what it sounded like.
All right, I'm
love
going
you, but
to. I'm going to do that because I need to get some coffee. You know,
You're gonna run into the door. Okay, then.
The real stuff. You know, the real stuff. Coffee.
It's not as strong as my coffee. I drink Death Wish.
You drink Death Wish?
Death. What is
Yeah.
Death Wish?
A very
It's a strong
potent coffee
coffee.
brand. Very
Yeah.
potent. It's
Yeah.
like taking liquid crack and injecting it into your brain.
Yep.
Oh wow! Can you send me some? What the hell?
I think you can find it online. I don't want to pay
Probably.
that shipping. I'm
Death
sorry.
Wish. I'm
If-
not
if
allowed
there-
to
if there was
touch
no tariffs,
anything.
maybe I would.
Send me a link after the podcast because I'm not allowed to touch anything beside my coffee.
No, you're not.
So
Don't touch nothing.
I'm touching nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
I have
the
no
stream
idea.
delay is pretty severe. I mentioned dirt water
it on
quite a while ago.
I
and I'm
have
just
no
seeing it on
idea.
beaches.
I have no idea what this stuff is. I sit there and I drink tea. The
See, there
tea
she
I
goes,
drink-
running into the damn door.
The tea I drink. Changing subject. The tea I drink it tends to come from particular brands rather than types of tea. This is the difference I think that a lot of people get mixed up on. When they
Oh,
start
you drink
talking
Gold
about
Tips
stuff.
Imperial?
No.
Beg your pardon? Who? What?
Nothing. It was a nerd reference. It's nothing.
I drink what?
Gold Tips Imperial.
No. No. If
Is it
if
Taylor's
you're,
of Hanover?
No.
I've been to
No,
a few
you
countries
don't.
where people. I've been to a few countries where people have seemed to take a great joy in telling me all about the tea that I drink, because they think they know what it is,
Sorry.
and they don't. And I've had people that tell me that they've got English breakfast tea or English tea,
That's not
and
the
here
real
it
thing.
is, and it's not.
No.
I've had people that give me Liptons and they tell me that's what the English drink, and we
No.
really don't. And
I don't think you even legitimately drink an Earl Grey as so far as we have it here.
There
No,
are
what he
shops
has
that-
is Taylor's of
Clara,
Harrogate.
Clara, can you shut up a minute? Let me finish.
I'm looking at it.
So there are.
He's
shops
passionate
over here
about his
that-
tea.
He
I
is.
can't even finish. There are shops over here that sell particular. There are shops over here that sell types of tea.
Right.
Yes, you can buy Earl Grey and Darjeeling and ginseng, and you can probably buy green tea and all the other teas that are out there, all infused with various, I don't know, pea of nat or elderberry or whatever. You know, and I'm not like that. The English brand or the English blend, and I call it a blend of tea, is none of those. The English blend of tea is a specific blend that has evolved over time, and it is. Some people try and call it black tea. It's not. Some people try and call it other things like breakfast tea. It's not. But
It is
they all
black
think
tea.
they know. It's not. So they
He
take
doesn't know
great
what
joy
black
in.
tea is.
You're poking a bear.
I love
They
you.
take great joy in telling me what they think I need to know. And frankly, I've been doing this thing for a long time. I have a pretty good idea. So, oh, here we go. She slammed it on purpose. So the teas that I drink make nothing to those things that you've mentioned. So I could talk, and if there are any British people up at 1:30 in the morning, they've probably all gone to bed now, or a lot of them have.
Normal ones have.
The ones that we have on there are the likes of drinking things like Yorkshire tea,
Right.
Bond, PG tips, that is. So this is the other thing. People talk about PG to me in Second Life, and I sit there rolling
Oh,
laughing,
yeah.
'cause
It's an
we don't
American
talk-
term.
We don't talk. PG to me is a brand of tea. That's it. I have no idea what the bloody American thing was. My eyes came out on stalks like that movie from The Mask when they told me, and I looked up PG and I realised that I was being obliged to act like an 8-year-old or younger.
More or
And
less,
I
yeah.
thought to my-
Be appropriate for
thought to
8-year-old.
And I thought to myself, why is a grown adult trying to make another grown adult act like a child?
Because not everyone appreciates adult content. So in some
Wait, what?
lands, in SL, they say, "Hey, we're just not that kind of place. Please don't do it. We are for the people who don't want it," which is fine. That's their prerogative. But yeah, if they try to
I'm
come
still
to somewhere
always
else and tell you that, they don't. Yeah.
I'm still always rather disturbed that a group of adults can look at another group of adults and tell them that they have to act like children. That doesn't
That's
resonate.
not what it means.
But it is exactly what's happening.
No, it's not. It means to act in a way that would be appropriate for children to be around, because not everyone appreciates like adult
Yeah.
situation stuff.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to do that.
I gotta be honest, I don't know when we flipped from tea to adult behavior.
I know, but well, this is the whole point, because we talk in terms of PG, which is the
Oh,
the kids
PG,
rating.
PG. Okay, yes.
And
Okay,
PG
that's right.
tips.
Yeah.
That's why it goes. Yeah, keep up. So,
In my
So,
defense,
yeah.
I don't speak European.
it's 1:30 in the morning here, and I'm still ahead of you. So
Oh,
anyway.
don't start! Don't start! Okay, don't start.
So yeah. So anyway, but yeah,
Way
we
too early.
talked about that. So I mean, there are other things that we talked about in terms of content and the things we were mentioning, and things like, we talked about movies out there. We've talked we touched a little bit about music, where we have similar problems in terms of content then, and are you getting what you think you're getting when you listen to music in Second Life? No, you're getting something they ripped off YouTube. Or you're getting something. There are very few people that actually pay for their music in Second Life. They
Right.
like to have things for free, and there are all sorts of license problems, broadcast licensing problems, copyright issue problems, piracy, and more, which are lurking out there back there. Second Life have tried to deal with it in the past. They will try to deal with it again, and it will come back and bite an awful lot of people very, very quickly when they do.
Nobody
So,
cares.
you know,
They don't
that-
believe it will happen because it's Second Life. Second Life is too small. Nobody cares. It will never happen. That's the
Really?
opinion of most people.
If the broadcasting rights people can go to a pub down the road from me and do a raid on them and say, you are broadcasting a football game, let's not talk about type of football because that's a different argument again. You're broadcasting a sports event in that pub for people to go and enjoy, and you haven't got a license for broadcasting it, and they hit them with a 5-figure fine.
Yeah.
Then, I'm sorry, that's one pub with, say, 30 to 40 people in it. Second Life, with respect, is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So, it will happen. It will come. There has in the past been situations where Second Life did do it. And, I think it was something like a $500 fine, immediate suspension of account for both the venue and the person doing the thing. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. However, the problem comes in how do you police it? And that's
Right.
where the resources of Second Life come from. Everyone is, we sat there, we talked about a number of issues here. We've said, Second Life should be doing this, the Lindens should be doing this, and they should be doing that. Yes, they should. But do they, realistically, guys, do they have the resources to be able to do it?
No,
Well,
they don't.
Well, with respect, if they haven't even got the capacity to have a person welcoming newcomers to Second Life and telling them where to go and how to log in and how to move around, etc.
Yeah.
To the point where they've actually got to put an AI bot in there to talk to them and get them through that pain.
Yep.
Then how the hell are they going to be able to police the rest of it? They can't do it.
Well, I think they did the AI bot thing because it's a technology thing that's new and exciting.
Yeah, but
I don't think it's
yeah,
about
but
if they have
this
something
No,
is
that's-
education as well, because Second Life has gotten away with it for so long. Nobody cares, and everybody think, oh yeah, that's normal, that's totally okay, that's totally
It
acceptable.
won't last forever because it shouldn't even be happening.
They're also saying, well, I'm only playing once or twice a week, and there's only 10, 20 people, so it's all okay. It's just
No, it's not.
if
It's
nobody
not right.
is telling them otherwise, how are they going to know? Like, it's just a matter of bringing as well awareness. Just guys, be careful, that could happen, but people don't believe it because it's just Second Life.
Okay, so we think that Second Life's really small, insignificant, no one's going to come? Well, okay, look at this, right? If you go by Second Life's figures, there are anything up to 40,000 people online at any one point in time.
Yep.
We kind of know that's not true. If realistically,
Lots
if you
of bots.
start drilling down, there are bots, there are phony accounts,
Bots.
there are other things on there as well.
Right.
Some of which give rise to counts and some of which don't. I think realistically, if you round it down, I saw a figure of something in the region of about 10,500 to 11,000 people, depending on time of year. Right now in a holiday period, so that the whole membership of Second Life is down because everybody's going out on holiday on vacation because they've got better things to do, and that's understandable too. It's cyclical. Right. They come back in the fall, and it's great. So there are a number of people out there, and if 5% of those 10,000 people decide that they want to start streaming music, that is still a lot of people, and listen to all the people that are listening to it too. That is still a lot of people too. That if the licensing people are going to jump on a pub with 30 people in it in the real world, they can make an awful lot more out of Second Life. So let's not think that Second Life is too small.
The issue for that is strictly how do you prove it? Because for all they know, the individual who's streaming the music from their rig has a license, or not necessarily has a license, but has a subscription to, say, Spotify. If they're paying for the service, then to play devil's advocate, they're technically paying to play that because they can't hit you necessarily with
You're not allowed to play your Spotify account in public.
Correct.
It's the same thing with an Audible
Andy knows
book.
this stuff. He's close with
So
the music
you
industry.
have-
Like,
follow.
he knows this. Let
So you
Andy
have to-
go on about this because he knows what he's talking about.
And this is why she keeps cutting me off. You have to have a broadcast license out there to be able to broadcast these things to the public. And by public, we're talking in terms of 2 or more people.
So okay, say for instance you have your Spotify Premium, right? And you're having a house party.
Yep.
Could they jump you for having a house party in your own residence with your own media, your own license, your own subscription?
Correct, because it's a personal license. It's not a license for broadcasting and making it available as a public event to other people. So it is. It's not licensed at all. And that's the problem. YouTube, years ago, used to be a lot like Second Life is now. Everybody thought, yeah, we'll put all our videos and stuff on there and, it'll be great. There were other portals and other social media things out there as well. And again, everyone thought, yeah, we'll shove it all on there. It'd be great. Superb. Then the licensing guys came back and said, so where's our cut for this? Where about the artists? The Taylor Swifts of this world, how's she going to be able to pay for all her next door, etc.? Because you guys are just ripping the stuff off there and doing it for nothing. So this is where the licensing issues come in. This is why when you stream stuff on YouTube right now, for example, just picking YouTube as an example,
it has to be license-free music, right?
It has to be license-free. It has to be agreed. It has.
Right.
You have to have purchased it, etc. It has to be original.
The issue then isn't necessarily enforcement, but the conditions for the enforcement. Because going back to the example of like a house party with music, right? Per the restrictions on music licensing, any party anywhere ever could just have people call up and say, hey, they're playing music and there's a party, and then you could have the badges, so to speak,
Yes.
show up and cut everything down. So the issue becomes less about whether or not they can do it and whether or not they care to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's the
I
thing
can
with
tell you
Second
about a
Life.
little cafe where we used in real life where we used to do open mics. I read poetry, but a lot of people like had a guitar and did original songs and stuff. There was this one girl who did an excellent version of "Baby" by Justin Bieber. We were always requesting it, and the staff at the cafe said, BMG, big music group or whatever, is warning us not to play licensed songs anymore, or else we cannot do this open mic anymore. Well, we kept
Correct.
requesting "Baby," and I think it took like 2 different nights, and then it was done. There was no more open mic.
Right.
Yeah.
So
For
it's
that reason.
yeah.
If
But
I go,
it's less-
if I go onto a gaming streaming platform, video platform like Twitch, for example, and I want to start streaming, I want to start jumping around behind a controller with a webcam on me, and basically make a complete twat of myself in front of everybody, and doing the small tips that way. Twitch actually blocks a substantial part of that stream because it's not licensed.
Right.
For that reason, YouTube does the same on live stream if you haven't purchased it, etc. Again, for that reason, or you'll end up with a strike on it, and they potentially take the whole thing offline.
Okay. Yeah, I'll concede
and
that.
you.
I'll concede that.
So why should everybody be so naive as to think that Second Life is immune from this? Because it's not. It's exactly the same. The only
I
difference-
think I think the well, I think it's less that and more that, understandably to a degree, people consider this to be a social setting, not so much a video game or a monetary setup. It's
Yeah, but
just
they're
not say video
earning
game.
money.
It's
Yeah, but
they
they're
are,
earning
they are,
money.
but-
It's not
but-
like they're playing for the fun of it. They're playing
Right,
it
I'm
as
not
a
saying- I'm not saying-
quote job and getting tips from it. So
Well, the
even though
cafe,
it's
we
only,
didn't get tips.
yeah,
I'm
but-
not saying that the way people view it is not as something they can't make money from, but what we're doing right now, we could technically make money off of this, but we're technically just hanging out.
We're
How
not
can we
trying
make
to
money?
broadcast
that's-
something.
Well, your views on
I
YouTube.
want to know. I want to
If you
know.
reach certain milestones, you make money for your views on YouTube. So even though we're just having a conversation
Denise,
and it's a debate
like,
between
people
one another,
already do.
well, yeah, but
Yeah.
but
A lot of people
it's-
think
it's an
that
understandable
if
argument. It's an
DJs
understandable argument
in
that-
SL have to. A lot of people think that if DJs in SL have to broadcast legally what they actually own, what they got licensed for and stuff, then there would be no DJs left in SL, and it makes a lot of people mad. But it's not true at all. There will be
It's
a
not
small
true.
percentage left, but they will be the ones doing it right.
Yeah.
well, there's also another option, an option that's a lot easier to bypass than people realize. You pay a small price for AI development, AI music development, and then you create your own original pieces through that collaboration. And that's
no, you can't do
No.
that.
I did
Now-
that. I did that. It's fun. It's great.
It's-
but
it's-
it's not good enough to like. People don't want to hear it. I promise you.
Vincent, there's a whole legal action going through at the moment.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
also legally murky, and
Clara,
actually
can I finish,
the
please?
laws on it are still
Clara,
developing.
can I finish? Can I finish, please? Sorry.
Well, I did it,
Um,
so don't I know
so-
something about it?
So there's a whole load of legal action going through right now because the AI companies, Autonomy, OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc., they're all training their AI agents, software solutions, etc., to be able
Right.
to identify and self-generate music. To do that, they have to, because AI is basically a glorified sorting engine based on original data. Yes, it can generate stuff, but it needs to have something to generate from. It needs to know how to generate, etc.
so here's where that gets
what-
murky.
What they're doing is they're taking artist material, they're feeding it into these AI bots, and the AI bot takes it, chews it, consumes it, spews it back out according to the criteria it's asked to program when someone asks it to, on that way. Which is why you'll find a lot of these, certainly on the website that I know Clara uses, you'll find an awful lot of the chat things sound a little bit like Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift,
because there's an
Yeah.
awful lot of material from those things.
There's one
There is-
that
there
I
are-
made that sounds like Kelly Clarkson.
There are there's a whole number of legal actions going through right now where record companies and music labels are asking and demanding that these IT companies do not use their material for that reason, because you can basically have a riff, a phrase, musical phrase, sequence of chords, etc., which are unique to a particular artist being regurgitated ad infinitum for anybody else that has that criteria.
But here's where that gets murky. Music has existed for millennia. Any and every single combination of melody has already been done. Them laying claim to it is not rational. It's
but
pure greed.
Like, yeah, but it's like Vanilla Ice versus that David Bowie song. Vanilla Ice sampled it like a lot of rappers do, but it did it without permission and then tried to lie about it.
Okay, but here's the issue with that.
But the public's ear, like any sane person's ear, can pick it up. Vanilla Ice was like, there's one more drum beat in it or something like that, and that makes it different. But any sane person's just regular ear could hear that it's the same sound.
Have either of you listened to any of there's quite a few videos of the same 4 chords for every popular pop song?
Yes,
I was
we
about to
know,
say-
but it's got to be if a sensible person can hear that it's the same thing.
I was about to say that, Vincent. There was a huge court action with Ed Sheeran last year in the UK courts, where he basically took a number of people to court for saying, I've got copyright on these things, and they were saying you copied it from somebody else. And then he actually took a guitar into the court and say, right, give me a tune, any tune, and he used the same 4 chords and proved the fact that probably 40% of all the tracks out there right now actually stem from those chords. And he just said, and you can go onto YouTube. You can go onto YouTube and watch him actually doing this.
Yes. I've actually seen that. I think he was in a studio for it, but yes.
Yeah, doing exactly
that. Yes, but it's got to be different enough for a sensible person to be like, okay, this is a different song.
That's what I'm getting at. Is the record companies, the label companies going after AI development for creating or for using sample products. Every single sound already there has already been sampled by those bands, by those labels, by those organizations. It's already been sampled before. So what they're doing is they're flexing that they have money and they have power and they have authority to stifle creativity that they themselves took advantage of. And that's the issue. I totally understand the concept of AI going too far, but when you reach into, I've got the power so I can say you can't do this, despite having centuries of proof of music doing that to itself, you can't. The issue is you cannot stake a legal claim on an idea, and a sound is just that. It is inconcrete. It's inconcrete.
Right.
It's not inconcrete.
I'm gonna beg to differ a little bit on a number of points. Point 1, AI has only really been around for the last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
For centuries, people have not used AI. They haven't gone to concerts and tried to copy what they've heard. They've actually sat down with a pen and paper. I've got music qualifications. I've done the same thing with a stave and wrote and sat on a keyboard or whatever instrument they use.
Right.
And they've made out a tune. They've put together these things themselves. And there it is. It's written down. It's fine. You can see it. All well and good. These days, because we have the world of digital now, where everybody can hear everything else, everything is much more obtainable than anything else, and now AI is now in a position where it can take a global view of everything that has ever been produced, that's been recorded, insert it into its own criteria, and then blurt something out. It's blurting the stuff out that people are actually earning money from. And I'm not saying that people are earning money for right. I'm talking that people that, it is their sole income. We're not talking necessarily about lots of money either. If you buy a track on, I don't know, Amazon or something like that, you can pay something like about 90p or $1 or something like that for one track. I don't know what they're selling it for in the States, but I'm guessing roughly what it is in the UK. So, and that $1 then gets split according to the label that's producing it, the distributor, the artist that's got that. There's a whole machine behind that is responsible for devising, composing, recording, marketing, and getting it to you so that it comes out of your earphones because you like that song.
Right.
And that whole marketing machine goes instantly because someone has programmed a computer to say, you know what, I want something that sounds a bit like this with that element in there to these words, and it goes straight into what you've just done, and that entire industry yanks out the stuff they've got on there, inserts it and tells you it's original and it's new. The real problem then comes if someone looks at that and said, you know, I really like that, my mates like that too, do you know what, I want to go and sell that, and they then put it back on the media, and then suddenly you've got someone that's destroying that entire economy, the creativity, the innovation, the expertise, the professionalism, the talent is the big one. Everything that anyone has ever done effectively gets prejudiced for the sake of some nerd that's created an AI engine that can go trawling through all the different tracks and make up something that is little bits, segments of other tracks joined together, because that's what AI is.
Well, there's a counter argument to be made there.
Personally, I don't think that's right. And I'm
there's a counter.
That's
the counter argument I have to that, right? Yeah. I get the confliction with it. I do. I understand it. I do. But the problem I have is that we're throwing all this hate on AI for creating and recreating when modern artists are using digital technology themselves. Yeah. They're creating sounds with technology that has previous programming to amplify that sound, to change that sound, to tweak that sound. The originality of music itself isn't necessarily gone, but the individuality of it is. Because you've got people who are using loopers, you've got synths, you've got auto-tune, you've got sound changing drums, sound changing guitars, you've got Peter Frampton's creating a voice out of his guitar, right? Do you feel how I feel, or do you feel like I do? Absolute marvel.
Yeah,
an
they've been doing this
marvel
all for
of music.
Years.
But it's not exactly that. It's not new. The thing that you
hear
come
about
across,
stuff like the sound of a lawnmower but sped up, and then that's like this unique sound in a techno song and stuff. They've been doing that for years and years. And that's making something original.
Right, but like Denise is saying, every artist out there draws inspiration from someone else. I get the confliction of taking every artist and mashing it together and to create this amalgamation of unnatural creation. I get that, I do. But as long as, and I've had this argument with digital artists as well, as long as digital content is being used, you're using someone else's work to create that work to begin with. So the amount of rope you have is kind of shortened by the methods that you use, and it's a natural progression of our technological environment, because we're no longer just using an acoustic guitar and having to talk and share our music face to face with someone and teach them. Like you said, we can record the whole thing and then have people plug it into a program, and it can teach you on Guitar Hero or Guitar Smith for PC or PlayStation, right? There are ways to manipulate the organic development and the organic creation of music that has been taken advantage of for decades now. So AI is, while confrontational, how much of your style is derived from your... Right, it is also a philosophical debate, yes. But the issue we come across is if someone is trying to identically mimic, say, Ed Sheeran, then you definitely have an issue there. If they're trying to create an AI voice that sounds really, really close to his, or if they're just using the same musical style, I would still listen to Ed Sheeran over an AI version of Ed Sheeran personally, even if someone tried to create something kind of sort of close but with a different tempo. So for me personally, well
there's your problem. How do you know?
Right. But that's the issue with that is,
and that's exactly the reason why this court action is going through right now, because people are saying they are taking the entire recording portfolio of Ed Sheeran, or pick another one that everyone knows, the Beatles or Michael Jackson, which are worth billions to artists and stuff, and they put that whole lot into an AI engine. The AI engine consumes that whole thing, and it's gone. That's it.
Right.
Billions are then lost and wasted because someone plugs in and says, okay, make me an engine that sounds like a bit like Michael Jackson with a beat from Billie Jean, etc. And I want Vincent Price doing a thing at the end of it, or to these particular words. Can you spew it off out there? And off it goes. And suddenly you've got a son of Thriller. It's not right. It strangles everything. But here we're going to be in a situation where if people start feeling that is acceptable, there will be no innovation left. There will be no creativity left. all
So-
you're going to get is a recycled computer algorithm. That's it.
But that's what we get with
Yes,
that's what we
Andy
get with
said
music as it is. We get recycled melodies, we get recycled tunes. The thing that changes is the artist's delivery. That is the art. That is the magic. Now,
But you have
the-
no artist if you have AI. That's it.
Yeah.
You have no artist.
But like I just said, I would prefer to listen to Ed Sheeran stuff over an AI development. Now, like you said, how do you tell? It's going to get good enough that you can't tell. But through the at least until the point that digital AI becomes good enough to stage a whole concert without anybody being able to tell it's fake, we still have that connection of realism to the artists themselves. Listening to Ed Sheeran live is something I enjoy. Listening to Disturbed live, listening to Three Doors Down live, not very many bands I enjoy that from. But if someone were to try and take and fake a version of their songs with their own artistic flair, I would know, simply because I listen to those artists, that it's not the real deal. And I might even just say I don't want to listen to that. What it boils down to is that despite the unethical side of it, no innovation is fully ethical. I mean, you went from acoustic guitars to electric guitars, and then you were able to completely change the sound there. So people who made their living off of acoustic guitars were suddenly rendered completely obsolete as the fame for electric guitars kicked in, or electric drums, or the saxophone from the flute. You know, the issue we're going to run across here every single step of the way is as things get better, the things behind fall behind. But then acoustic guitars made their comeback because people were used to not hearing acoustic guitars. So the AI is going to grow, the AI is going to become a problem, and I understand not necessarily the hang up with it, but honestly the vitriol towards it because of what it can do to the industry. I totally understand that. But it's going to cycle through itself. It's just going to. Because people will get tired of hearing the AI. They'll get tired of going, this is too perfect. Give me something real. Because that's what AI is going to do. AI is not going to create something that's flawed. Like you listen to your favorite band and you listen to them live and they miss a note. You know they missed it, but it fits well enough and they're able to recover well enough that you can just... Nightwish is a perfect example.
The problem.
I do get what Andy's saying. I do 100% get what he's saying. I do. 100% understand.
The problem you've then got then in that scenario is that by the time that people come round and say, you know what, I want to hear a real flesh and blood person again, because they've got that quality, they've got that personality, they've got that, they've got that character that a computer hasn't got. Doesn't matter. Computers haven't got emotions. And
No, they don't.
It's all programmed. Whoever says that is complete bollocks. It's always programmed. You can't program an emotion. You can program the illusion of an emotion, but you can't program the. The problem that by the time you come round to the point of thinking, I want to listen to that real person again, that real person might not be around anymore because everybody's been buying the AI stuff.
Maybe I'm a little optimistic in that regard. I don't feel like humanity is ever going to really give up its creativity.
But that's the problem. Look at Second Life right now, where people are making more and more images out of AI than they are out of reality or out of Second Life, because they think they look cute. I mean, okay, right, so they might have a really weird ear, or they might have a duff eye, or they might have 6 fingers on one hand, or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you can skirt over those things or blow them out or cut them out, actually the picture doesn't look too bad. And there are a lot of people in Second Life
That make them look very good, yeah.
That's it, and that's good enough for them. Transfer that into a musical environment, and you're going to have the situation where you're going to get spewed up with so much of the same old. This is the way the music industry runs, frankly. You're going to get spewed up with so much of the same guff that you've always had, because people want to listen to it, because they want to buy it. So the record company or the music company focuses on that type of sound, that kind of music, and just feeds it to you because they know you're going to buy it and they want to make some money. That's how they do that. When people then come around and say, you know what, I don't want to hear that now, I want to hear something else, that person ain't going to be around anymore because he's lost his job to the computer. That's it, it's gone.
I'm going to wait. Denise is saying something.
Well, so is the movie industry.
Yeah, there are gems. There are gems among the masses. There absolutely are.
Mhm.
But Denise showed me a video just the other day of how some of the most popular songs out there share the same tempo, the same musical sequence that you can, with a little bit of a tempo change, really, you can overlap like Michael Jackson's music with another band's lyrics, and it fits. So it doesn't fit perfectly, mind you, but the tempo is there, and the pacing is all right, and it still sounds really, really good. The issue I think we're facing, honestly, from that is a handful of scales. Yes, that. But the issue with the AI and the concern that people are going to lose their job over it, I don't really agree with that, simply because you can look at techno as an example for club music. People still go back to legitimate club music that has people in it, that has lyrics, that has interactions, etc. And I don't feel like, again, like I said, maybe it's just me being hopeful. I don't feel like people are so consumed with the concept of AI and artificial existence in general that they're going to be willing to give up that connection to humanity. Because even modern day artists, you still find plenty, despite it being much easier to do their work on a digital tablet, you still have oil painters. You still have canvas painters. You still have sculptors. You know, they may be a little more rare. Sure, I'll give you that.
I agree. However,
Chris, why are you away?
I agree. However, the problem that you get is that the labels, the labels only invest their money and their time in the areas where they think it's going to sell.
Are you familiar with an artist, Tom McDonald?
No.
He is he's an indie artist who has reached #1 in American music, at least, for rap, country, and pop with no labels.
Yeah.
So I don't personally feel like the reference to labels and record companies, all that, are really quite as relevant anymore, because people can make the reach themselves thanks to technology. They can put their music on YouTube or on Spotify, etc. You know,
they will sell the music that people are willing to buy. That's how they make their money. If I go to the States, I can sit there and I can listen to and watch. Oh God, I went to Texas Speedway just over a year ago. I sat there watching a bunch of guys from about sort of 30 years ago, with some really long hairs, Michael Bolton type haircuts and shaggy. They looked a bit like one of the Muppet guys, the Muppet, you know, the drumming animal.
Yeah.
And they were sitting there head banging away, and there's lots of screeching on the electric guitars and stuff. And frankly, I looked at something. I could be looking at an old 80s rock video, and this is what they were doing. And everyone thought, yeah, they were awesome. And they were. And actually, they had a couple of hit records back in those days as well. And that's fantastic.
Right. It was a tribute band, baby.
I can't remember what it was called, but anyway.
It was a tribute band.
But you know, there were how many people did you get in that grandstand? 130,000 people. I mean, that blew my mind because of this relative scale.
They weren't there to see the music act.
Well, whatever. Where I'm going with this is that that music was put there to entertain the audience.
Right.
That's rock music. I can go down the road there, and there's country music being played in a number of bars and stuff. Now, if I want to go to country music in this country where I am, you can't get it.
Right.
We don't know country music. Very few bits of country music actually makes it across the pond. I go into Second Life clubs and I see people line dancing. It cracks me up because, frankly, in this country, and in most countries this side of the pond, line dancing tends to be done by geriatric pensioners on a Sunday afternoon.
People of all ages love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually.
I'm in Fort Worth. Yeah, Dallas.
Usually wearing a cowboy hat and some rather worn out sort of cowboy boots they bought 15 years ago from somewhere, because they want to live that dream, and that's it. If I go to anywhere else, if I go to a dance music festival or a pop concert or something like that, I'm not really going to see any country music going on. I'm not going to see much rock music either. I might see some stuff on some indie labels and stuff like that. But the world has moved on this side of the pond.
Right.
But it hasn't in the States. People relate to what they do. We've had a load of R&B and hip hop and what was the thing that she was doing? Ahsoka, and New Orleans, something or other. And basically, a lot of that music, there were some recognisable tracks out there, don't get me wrong. We've heard a few bits have filtered over, but in the main, an awful lot of that stuff has never made it over the pond here, really. It's very specific to that kind of area or that geography, and so the people in that geography will pay the money for that. Chris is in Australia, if an Aboriginal band, whatever you want to call them, Native Australian band, starts playing, gets the didgeridoos and the wobble boards and all that stuff out from where they are, and brings it into New York City or into London, apart from the novelty factor and there being a few niche people that think, this sounds really cool, I want to go and listen to this, it might not necessarily be as popular as, say, Rihanna or Madonna or, Jay-Z or someone like that. It's really the question of, you've got to have the content there to have people that are willing to pay for it. And the music business these days is very much more commercialized and will only really promote the records that it feels people want to hear. It's why you get these artists like Simon Cowell, etc., and these reality TV shows. We never used to have reality TV shows. The reason we have reality TV shows now is they make an awful lot of money for the companies that are making them, and for the people that win those competitions, and they are competitions effectively, although they're probably rigged. But the people that win those things then have more money invested in them because they know people will be more interested, having seen it on TV, to go out and buy a song that person has sung. So that's where that's where you're manipulated by these labels that basically spoon feed you with the music it thinks you want to hear. If I then transfer that back into what we were talking about 15 minutes ago, if they think you want to hear AI because that's all you can get, that's all they're going to give you. Yeah. The artists that rely on that the AI relies on, rather, will not be there anymore. And at some point, the AI runs out of what it's doing, and all it simply does is recycles the same phrases, the same musics, the same kind of voices, and we live in a nightmare world where everyone sounds like Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift.
So can I ask you a question?
God. Yeah.
No.
How much do you think the music industry needs to rely on the record labels anymore? Genuinely.
Well, the music industry is run by the record labels.
But it's not, because you can look at people like Christina Grimmie, who made a lot of money and rose to notoriety without any kind of record label simply by sharing her talent on YouTube. Tom MacDonald is the same way. There's a country artist that I follow on Twitter who's the same way. They don't have he might have one now, but he didn't start off with a record label of any kind, and he didn't sign up with one, as far as I know, until he was already making a lot of money, simply because it could expand his reach in a certain area. Because I would assume.
You just named 3 people out of the dozens and dozens and hundreds that are.
What I'm saying is, as an example, I can get on YouTube right now and find any number of musicians who have been running their channel for years, whether it's cover music or individual or original works, etc., that have made solid money simply by sharing their music on YouTube. They have no affiliations to record labels, etc.
So we might be heading toward a future
can I thank you for supporting what I've just been saying, because I haven't heard of those 3 people you just mentioned. I haven't heard anything about them. I don't see anything on the YouTube feeds from them. I don't see any of that. They are relating to your area and your particular taste, so that when you go into that wide directory of YouTube that's got everything on it, it will focus on the areas that you like in the feed and the things it finds to you. So that's how you found it.
Right. I wasn't saying that exposure is a universal thing. What I was getting at is the record labels themselves necessarily being needed. Because when even growing up, the bands I discovered, or not growing up, but whenever it came to the point of YouTube or MySpace or Instagram or whatever, the bands that I discovered through that, not through, say, a record label on the local radio or anything like that. I found them just scouring the web. I didn't find them through any form of particular.
99% of people are not looking for music that way. I found some music that way too, in my teens.
But what I'm saying is it's much
99%
much
of people
broader
are
now.
not. Yep, it's not. It's not reaching people like you think it is, though. It's reaching some, it's reaching you, but it's not reaching most.
What you don't realise is that you are actually just basically becoming cannon fodder for a computer algorithm, because the computer algorithm looks at what you've been doing, it looks at your search history, it looks at all the cookies and things you've got on there, it looks at the music that you might have recorded as listening to before, and it then feeds you more of the same.
Well, yes, that's obviously how algorithms work, but
Yeah.
the same can be said about radio stations. They take a look at what kind of music is popular and they play similar music.
Exactly, and actually there's a whole industry around that, because the record labels pay them to appear on playlists, and the playlists are ranked, and there are price bandings according to which playlist you have, what kind of music is on that playlist, when that playlist is broadcast according to when the peak audience is, etc. And they pay extra for that. And if you then attach adverts to that as well, there's more monetization that comes back from the adverts which are played while that playlist is playing. And I don't care who you've got talking on the radio show, the music that you hear comes from software.
I
Yes.
think I've got an example. So I like to watch Sims content. You know the game The Sims. I like to
Yes.
watch that stuff. So I know a few of the more popular YouTubers that do that. But not everyone does. I could name their names to y'all, and you would be like, huh, who? As opposed to if Hollywood came out with a Sims movie, like it just did the Minecraft movie, if it came out with a Sims movie, you guys would be like, oh yeah, Jack Black is in that, and like I've heard of that movie and stuff. But these little creators, they're just on my algorithm, and they're on the algorithms of people who like that stuff, and they're not reaching most of the world like a movie would. For example.
Right. The reason I referenced Tom McDonald in particular, this isn't details you guys would have, but I'll clarify it for the sake of the discussion. I cannot stand rap. I hate it with every fiber of my being. But Tom McDonald came up with a kind of rap that I not only enjoy the lyrics and the music for, but it has a meaning that reaches me. And I don't listen to rap. He still showed up on my feed. I never listen to it. I skip it in videos that might have content that I enjoy, because I guess whatever other sub-content in there, like you said, the algorithm feeding you what you're interested in, whatever the tags or the keywords involved, will feed you that information. The thing that we're dealing with now, more so than record labels being able to grant you that exposure, is short of going through other companies, sister companies, or third-party industries, such as creating a movie for Minecraft to help reach exposure. People can, through their perpetual digital existence, encounter a much more robust variety of content than they ever could via listening to a pop rock radio station or a pop rock Spotify channel, because they'll encounter things and elements, maybe responding to a comment or something, or seeing someone else mention another music video, etc. in the comments. There's more exposure there and more ability to branch out and explore than just going through
That's true,
like
but it's not going to reach
Spike
people
TV
like
or
a
something.
movie will.
Right, but what I'm saying is I mean, there's 122 million active users on YouTube every single day. That's a pretty big field of people to reach. So if you play something,
versus the whole world that knows the next Tom Cruise movie.
Guess where it's advertised?
YouTube, TV, radio.
Right. The reach for YouTube and social media and internet presence is massively more impactful than people realize. I mean, it used to be that we would get our movie advertisements when we're watching local television, right? We're watching our Saturday afternoon cartoons or whatever, and you'll see a commercial come up for this movie's coming out. The new Yu Yu Hakusho movie is coming out, right? Right. Advertising is a thriving business, but the thing that we're coming across now with these suggestion algorithms on YouTube videos or on Spotify, right, is even without the labels, they're still using an algorithm for their users to expand upon user reach, or even expand upon how far an artist can go.
Well, how about this?
So I completely understand the relevance, I guess you could say, of record labels and how they affect more than just people who aren't chronically online. I'm not trying to refute that anyway, but what I'm saying is there are more avenues that do help reduce the reliance on major corporations that may be used to have a stranglehold on everything.
I still think that the industries are bigger than YouTube. Maybe in the next decade or two, it'll change. Maybe it's on the way there, but as of right now, like I still think that the big industries, like, because they're reaching something like 99% of the world, whereas YouTube, you just mentioned like there's 7 billion people in the world. You mentioned a lot less than that.
I can guarantee you that no record label is reaching that many people in one go, in one daily run.
Well, unless you're living under
that.
a rock, you know who Tom Cruise is. Everybody
Tom Cruise
does.
Nobody knew who Tom Cruise was until he made it big. He still existed. Nobody knew who Tom McDonald was until he made it big.
Tom McDonald, I'm sorry, he's probably great,
what I'm saying,
but he
what I'm
has
saying
not made
is,
it big.
He has. He's made millions off of his work.
Taylor Swift has made it big.
Taylor Swift is a legend. She's a legend.
Yeah.
So
Britney Spears has made it big. Madonna
she's
has
a legend.
made it big.
Like,
Coldplay has made it big.
I mean, the top performers I would put in a tier above making it big. I would put top performers, including
we're not
Marilyn
talking
Monroe.
about talent or quality or anything. We're talking about
Reach.
Popularity and reach.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know this McDonald guy.
I understand that, and there's a lot of artists that I don't know, but they've still made it big. I had no clue about Nightwish, and they were one of the most popular gothic metal bands out there for years before I heard about them.
Well, they're more
that's the only thing that I'm saying is, despite individuals not knowing what something is, it doesn't negate their reach. It doesn't rebuke their reach.
I don't think Tom McDonald has nearly as much reach as Tom Cruise or Coldplay.
Well, of course not. He's a superstar.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference between a superstar and being successful and making it big.
He doesn't have the marketing that, like, Taylor Swift does.
Yeah. Peaches,
he doesn't have the resources that she does.
Peaches, I see your comment in the chat there, and I agree with you. That's exactly why we're talking about this. It does go back to the shadow creators.
Yes, it does.
How people are not innovating, how the people that are blindly purchasing and paying good money for this content are just getting regurgitated versions of what's already been out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
it.
we did go far.
Yeah. It's not.
And
We've not been jumping all over the place. We've not been jumping all over the place in terms of subjects. There is a logical structure to all this.
There is a similarity to each, yes. But the original discussion on shadow mesh and the taking advantage of artists does, I feel like it does actually greatly tie into record labels, because they use their clout and their position to abuse, say, smaller known musicians who might maybe one day make it big, but it's still a very good example of taking advantage of someone who might not necessarily have the means right that minute.
They strangle, they stifle artists.
Right.
Depending on how marketable they feel another artist can be.
Right.
If I go back to the 90s, in the days of Britpop and all of that, everyone was listening to Oasis and oh god, what's his face?
Spice Girls.
Well, that's a different thing again. That's pop music. You don't hear them now. You don't hear that type of music now.
Right.
Well, people moved on. They don't want to hear 90s music.
If I went back to the 80s, it wasn't all Rick
Blur,
Astley.
yes.
If I go back to the early 80s, there was a whole new romantic era out there as well. There was then the sort of the middle period as well, when you started getting some of the interesting stuff with the more sort of electro and synth stuff coming out there, with bands like Depeche Mode, Yazoo, etc., coming out of that. move forward a little bit further again, then you had the likes of sort of Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson was coming to the fore, although he'd been around before then.
Yeah.
But was very ultra. People were investing, labels were investing in that type of music because they knew that's what people would buy, and people would lap it up and do that. The moment that person, kind of like Elon Musk with his Tesla cars, the moment that person does something contentious or something that public can't relate to, they look for the next big thing.
Yes.
I know someone I know several people that were on Britain's Got Talent, that were on The Voice, and were on the other one that Simon Cowell does, X Factor.
X Factor, yeah.
The classic one was Laura, who was dating a guy that I know. She was rated in the X Factor series as being the winner before she'd even made the finals. She was absolutely brilliant, and she's got a fantastic voice. She's a mad secret weapon if you want to go into a karaoke competition, because no one knows what. But yeah, she goes in these things. She got to the finals, and it got to in the final 10. She got to about the third or fourth program in that sequence, and the marketing was such like, no, we don't want her to win. We want another band because it's more contentious. We get more viewing figures if we get this other band involved there. Let's put that band in instead rather than Laura. So they voted Laura out, and it got the whole public were up in arms over it. It even got raised in Parliament the following day to say this is gross manipulation. This girl was bloody brilliant. Why the hell can't we listen to her? The ironic thing was that the band that they promoted over her was a little band which basically made up of four guys that put the thing together to start with. They made a band out of them together. That band was called One Direction.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go there, yeah.
Yep. Well, a good example to that on the same field is Christina Grimmie.
Let me tell you about Laura's story. So because Laura made it to the last 10, and she was in the finals, she then had to sign a 5-year deal with Psycho, which is Simon Cowell's management company.
Yeah.
Which basically gives him the right over everything that she does musical in those 5 years. It's every song that's released, every song she's ever composed, every song she's ever sung. He has the right to determine.
She basically signed her soul over.
He has the right to determine whether she can sing or whether she is not allowed to sing. So he can then basically promote her or anybody else without her even being allowed to be heard. And this was the biggest problem that she had. She was out there. She wanted to do recording contracts. She couldn't do a thing for 5 years because he had that contract with him. And this is how labels, the management companies, manipulate the public.
So that goes back to how reliant on record labels should people actually be. Because if that's the case,
you can't
and
tell
you do
the public en masse what to do. They will do what they
No,
do.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about individual artists and the idea that they need a record label in order to make it big. They don't. And so,
It
but
makes
the
it
thing
a
is,
whole lot easier. Otherwise, they ain't got a shot in the dark, really. Basically.
you got a shot in the dark of being noticed by a record label to begin with.
Except for these 3 people that you named, out of how many people have tried.
Well, I only used 3 examples. There are dozens, hundreds more.
The problem that you get with people is with music is that if people are going to buy the music, they have to hear it in the first place. Unless the artist is so massively big and has a huge avid following where the people really want to buy everything that they've and consume as much as they can about that artist because it is that artist. Every other organisation, I've talked about the playlists on radio stations and how people try and get airtime on there. We talk about the advertising and how people can try and pay channels like TikTok, like YouTube, like Spotify, Deezer, Beatport, etc., to put their own material on there so that people can then basically find that as an algorithm, and that what they're looking for is for airtime. I have a shareholding in a radio station. It's got an outlet in Second Life as well, simply for the people in Second Life. But the big power of the whole thing is outside Second Life. And we don't really advertise the whole thing, but we are still getting in the region of about 7 or 8 tracks a week just from people saying, please, can you play my record on your radio station? Because people then might listen to this. They might give me a contract to take this forward, because I've got airtime on here. And I sit and I listen to I get like a 3-paragraph synopsis of the whole thing with every track. And it says, like, this person has been played on BBC Radio 1 and CBC and NBS and all these other talk radio things. They pick out all these stations and the results they get and the following they get, and say, okay, so if they get that thing, you might get it if you play it on your radio station, so you might get more listeners. And so the people then say, okay, so I've got a really good track here, you've got the listeners, I've got the track, put the two together, they're going to buy my music, aren't they? Yes, they might do, but if your radio station doesn't play that because they think that somebody else might want to listen to Led Zeppelin, for example, they won't play it. And that person will never be heard as a result of that. People listen to what they want to hear. And the record companies will only feed them with what they think you want to hear. Guess what? If they find someone that's slightly different, that people look and say, you know what, that person sounds a bit different, they'll promote that one person then as well, because they'll say, yeah, we get away from all the old people regurgitating the same stuff. We've got something new here. People are going to buy a lot of that. And we have these award ceremonies every year, like the Grammys, like the Brit Awards, like the, like these other huge music award things
Most
out
of those
there,
are
where they
or
promote,
based on
where
real
they,
vote.
where they promote artists, and they have like upcomers and newcomers. And if you get yourselves on that list of the newcomers list that are out there, people look at you, they listen to what you're buying, they'll buy that thing and say, actually, you know what, I really like that. And invariably you'll find that someone that has done well in a newcomer sequence in that suddenly gets promoted by everybody and turns into a major star or a major person within about 2 years. It's just the way the world runs. There was one third subject that we had on my list tonight to talk about.
Do we have time?
No, I don't think we have time. We've been 116
we got
minutes.
way off in the weeds. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, we'll leave it for another night. But I'll just give a little bit of a teaser. It's
Okay.
Chris likes teasers.
Well, tease me, Daddy.
Oh, wow.
I'm not your daddy. I am not.
Yes, Daddy. Yes, Daddy. Oh, Daddy.
Oh no.
God's sake.
I'm not playing that game. You're on your own, brother.
Jesus. Anyway, so the third title I've got on my list here says relationships, and talk about, well, something to think about. Relationships. Do the people you talk to mean anything to you? Do the people talking to you role play when they're talking to you, or do they actually have meaning behind it? Do you get emotions for these people, or are you getting attached to a persona that they've invented rather than being the real person?
Is that what it's about?
Is this more focused on your digital interactions with people, such as the people
I
I meet
thought it
here?
was based on the conversation we had that one night.
Yeah, we had that.
You were not there. I'm
We've
sorry.
had conversation. We've had conversations sitting on my boat moored over the Blake Sea, looking at the lighthouse going in the background.
We had a specific kind of conversation after a game night one night. I'm sorry, you were asleep.
Yes, you went. Yes, weak person. Okay, that's what happened when the weak people leave.
So the teaser is, I met Clara on here, 2 years ago now? 3 years ago? 3 years ago. Probably about 3 years ago, something like that.
You forgot.
It's been that long. I don't know.
I can check.
I can't even remember how old my bloody avatar is.
You're fine, dude. I'm just teasing.
How old is my avatar? I don't even...
3
3
years
years.
old.
Jesus Christ, it's 3 years old. Time flies when you're having fun. And I've still only got a dozen friends, but that's me. Anyway,
Doesn't matter. You have me on your list. That's all it matters. Okay.
She's in trouble for all 12 friends.
It was a standing joke in Second Life for at least the first year and a half, because I literally could count the number of friends I had on the fingers of one hand, because everybody else was terrified that I was going to ask them to have sex. It was hysterical, and I knew exactly what it was. No one would talk to the new guy because they were worried he was going to do that, because that's what they thought new guys did. I mean, yes, a lot of
Because
new
many
guys do,
do, because they're
but
not
some of
actually
them-
new.
but guess what? Some of them don't. So that's the thing. Anyway, where I'm going with this is that over
He
time.
was looking right at me when you said that.
Anyways, in that time, I have jumped on a plane and I have flown from Texas. So I have flown from London to Texas. I've done it twice now.
We did it.
Yeah, and
You did
Yes,
what?
we did.
Sorry, did you do it? What,
He
on the
flew
plane?
on a plane. Flew on a plane.
Oh,
Technically 4
no.
times.
Oh,
but he
okay,
did have to go.
yeah.
No,
I know. I thought she was
no.
talking about.
I haven't been on a plane to see him yet. We did it.
She did it.
Good
Oh my gosh, she did it. Wow.
You knew what you were getting into, Andy. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
He
wait,
was-
Jason.
This is such a second life thing. I make one statement. I have travelled to Texas twice to go and see Clara, and suddenly some guy then turns around and says, "No, you've done it 4 times because you went there and back." I don't fucking care. I went to Texas twice. Okay. The number of
worth
journeys
it.
this is immaterial. Yes, okay, it was 4 times the journey, but hey, okay, I still did
Totally
the journey to
worth it.
Texas twice. Okay, so where I'm going with
Were
this
you
is
on
Oh, there you go,
that?
Denise.
Were you?
I will get to the point of this if someone lets me. So, in the space of the next 5 weeks, Clara is going to jump on a plane and come and see me.
I mean, I get to see where Ed Sheeran lives
It's
inside
going
of Big Ben.
to. It's,
Oh, you've booked the ticket?
he doesn't
He's
live
about
inside
to.
Big Ben. He doesn't
Oh.
live inside Big Ben. He lives inside the clock tower of St Pancras Station, which for Harry Potter fans is the place where they show the train leaving and the Ford Anglia flying around and all that junk.
So he does live in
Anyway.
a clock tower, so I wasn't that far off.
Oh, he had the clock tower, yes. So, yeah, so we are, as a little teaser to this whole thing about relationships and who you are and who you think you are and all that junk. Yes, I'm going to be getting on the phone to Clara tomorrow, and we are going to book a ticket, and she's going to be over here in 5 weeks' time.
Hell yes.
So
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I will see.
I've never
and we'll
been
see where we
outside
go.
the U.S.
I was about to say, this is the first time Clara's been outside the US because I had to sort her passport out last time I saw her. So she's not been out of the US at all. Yeah. The world is suddenly going to get a lot smaller place.
I don't think so. I think it's going to get bigger. Well, distance
does get
between
bigger
you is
when
going to
I'm
get
around.
smaller. Oh God.
What's this? Were I on the plane or in the plane? No, what do you think I was doing? What do you think I was? Wind walking at 40,000 feet? Come on,
Unless your arms
come
get
on.
tired.
Goodness sake.
Look, details matter, okay? Just saying.
Do you
No,
want
details-
details?
no,
I don't think
no,
Chris will like that.
Details don't matter. I went to Texas twice. It doesn't matter the number of journeys. It doesn't take much logic to work out that it's going to be a journey there and back, isn't it? So there we are, okay? Am I going to be in the plane or on the plane? The plane's flying at 40,000 feet. It was about 180, it was minus 180 degrees outside. The chances are I was probably inside the plane because it's a fuck of a lot warmer inside than it is outside. So yeah. And
That's the only reason you'd be inside of it.
The movies
It's
inside
very
the plane
warm,
are a lot
isn't
better.
it?
The movies are a lot better inside the plane than they are outside. And actually, when you fly back from Texas to the UK, it's invariably overnight, so you can't see anything once you cross over Atlantic City and get over the pond anyway. So you don't see anything roughly until around 5 o'clock-ish to 5:30 in the morning, which is just as you're coming across the southwest corner of Southern Ireland. And then you're coming up over the Bristol Channel and coming round towards London that way. If you're coming into Heathrow like I did. If you're going to places like Manchester or Liverpool, etc., then you're going further north. But the same kind of thing applies. So yeah, Clara's going to be over here in the UK in about 5 to 6 weeks' time.
Woohoo!
Heck yeah.
And people say meeting people online isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real for
yeah.
us.
It's very real. I've met some my
Yeah.
closest friend I met on when I was playing a frickin' video game for PvP. Like,
It's much more common than it used to be, even like 10,
Yes.
15 years ago.
I've met people in 2008 when I flew to the USA. I've met a lot of my friends, and they're still
Well, you were
friends
gonna
today.
get serial killed. Oh, I'm just playing.
Oh,
go.
that's what